The cool breeze of a late summer evening brushed against Michael's face as he walked down a quiet street, a neighborhood he didn't visit often. Dressed in a plain hoodie and jeans, he moved with quiet confidence, though his eyes subtly scanned each house, car, and mailbox with careful intent. To a passerby, his presence might seem unremarkable, but to someone paying attention, his methodical observation of a place that wasn't his home could raise eyebrows. And someone was paying attention. Parked near the corner of the cul-de-sac, Officer Craig sat in his cruiser, finishing the last sip of a lukewarm coffee. His gaze sharpened the moment he noticed Michael. Instinct kicked in before reason had a chance. "What's this guy up to?" he muttered, his fingers tightening around the steering wheel. Michael paused near a mailbox, jotting something into a small notepad. That sealed it for Craig. He flipped on his headlights and eased the car forward, the sudden illumination washing over Michael, who seemed unfazed. Craig stepped out of the cruiser, his hand instinctively brushing the holster on his hip. "Hey, you," he called out, his tone more command than question. Michael turned, his expression calm yet unreadable. "Evening, officer." His voice was steady. "Just doing some work." Craig squinted, sizing him up. "Work, huh? You live around here?" Michael shook his head. "No, but I..." Craig cut him off, stepping closer. "Then why are you in this neighborhood? It's almost midnight." Michael took a measured breath, recognizing the shift in the officer's demeanor. "I'm not doing anything wrong, officer. Just taking notes for a project." Craig's eyes narrowed. "What kind of project?" Michael hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "I'd rather not say. It's sensitive work." To Craig, the answer was evasive, suspicious even. His gut told him something was off. The streetlights cast long shadows as the air between them grew tense. Craig took another step forward, his voice low. "Look, you don't belong here. Either explain yourself, or we're going to have a problem." Michael stood his ground, his tone calm but firm. "Officer, I'm not breaking any laws." Craig's jaw clenched. He didn't like being challenged. In his mind, this man had already crossed the line. His fingers brushed the latch of his holster, the quiet night amplifying every sound, the rustling leaves, the distant hum of traffic, the growing tension. "You need to stop being evasive and tell me exactly what you're doing here," Craig barked, his stance widening in an attempt to assert control. Michael took a half step back, keeping his hands visible. "I've explained what I can, officer. I'm doing my job. There's no law against being here." Craig scoffed. "Your job? What kind of job involves wandering around people's houses at night, scribbling in a notebook? Sounds like you're casing the place to me." Michael's face remained calm, though a flicker of frustration crossed his eyes. "I'm not casing anything. And I'd appreciate it if you stopped making baseless accusations." Craig stiffened, his pride bruised by Michael's composure. "Baseless, huh? Funny, because I don't see you offering any proof otherwise." He stepped closer, voice sharp. "What's in the notebook? Hand it over." Michael tightened his grip on the small notepad. "It's private, officer. I'm under no obligation to show it to you." That was the tipping point. Craig's patience snapped, and he reached out to grab Michael's arm. "Don't make this harder than it has to be." Michael instinctively pulled back, his voice firm. "I'm not resisting, but you're crossing the line." Craig's face darkened. "Crossing a line? You're the one creeping around, refusing to cooperate." He pulled out his radio, speaking into it with urgency. "I've got a suspicious individual refusing to identify himself. Requesting backup at Pine Grove Lane." Michael exhaled, his frustration evident. "Officer, this is unnecessary. I don't want this to escalate." Craig smirked. "Should have thought about that before playing coy." Within minutes, another patrol car rolled onto the scene, its flashing lights casting red and blue shadows across the quiet neighborhood. A second officer, younger and visibly uneasy, stepped out. "What's going on here?" he asked. Craig gestured toward Michael. "This guy's been wandering the neighborhood, won't explain what he's doing, and now he's refusing to hand over his notebook." The younger officer glanced between them. Did he actually break any laws?" Craig's glare silenced the question. "He's acting suspicious. And he's resisting." Michael let out a slow breath. His calm demeanor was unsettling to Craig. "I'm not resisting anything. I'm standing here, trying to avoid conflict. But I have rights, and you're violating them." The younger officer shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. Craig, however, seemed emboldened by the standoff. "Enough of this. Turn around and put your hands behind your back." Michael hesitated, his jaw tightening before he complied. He turned slowly, placing his hands behind him as Craig snapped the cuffs on with more force than necessary. "Officer, this is a mistake," Michael said quietly as Craig guided him toward the cruiser. Craig sneered. "We'll see about that." As Michael was placed in the back seat, he glanced back. The younger officer lingered by the patrol car, his expression troubled, as though questioning whether this was right. But the flashing lights and quiet tension swallowed any objections he might have voiced. The drive to the station was silent, save for the crackling of the police radio. Craig radiated satisfaction, convinced he had just stopped a potential threat. Michael, however, stared out the window, his expression unreadable, his mind clearly at work. At the station, Craig marched Michael in, gripping his arm with unnecessary force. The desk sergeant, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes, looked up from her paperwork, eyeing Michael with mild curiosity. "What's this about?" she asked. Craig straightened. "Caught him prowling around Pine Grove Lane. Refused to explain himself. Suspicious behavior all around." The sergeant raised an eyebrow. "Did he resist arrest?" Craig muttered, "Not physically, but he was obstructing." Michael finally spoke, his tone measured. "I was standing on a public sidewalk, doing nothing illegal." This officer decided that wasn't good enough for him. The sergeant sighed, clearly used to diffusing these situations. "All right, let's process him and figure this out." As Craig led Michael toward the holding area, he grumbled under his breath. But as they passed an office, Michael's gaze flicked to a nameplate on the desk, Special Agent Williams. A faint smile crossed his lips. Unnoticed by Craig.